Welcome back. With a slogan that reads, "It is not enough for the county executive to be a progressive. We need a progressive that can and is committed to actually delivering progressive results." With that slogan in hand, Councilmember Tom Hucker became the third Democrat to announce plans to challenge current County Executive Mark Elrich in the 2022 election, along with businessman David Blair and fellow Councilmember Hans Riemer. Sam, in a hotly contested election with a plethora of candidates in 2018, Mr. Elrich barely won the nomination. There are those that suggest that Mr. Elrich has not been able to expand his base and is vulnerable on this election from his left.
Yeah, that's a very interesting comment. I'm going to give you two experiences. I happened to, over the past 2 years, was out with Mark twice in public at the Silver Diner about a month ago. And after we happened to duck into the restroom. And as we were coming out, a gentleman stopped Mark and said, "Mark, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you keeping me and my family and my friends and my neighbors safe because of the COVID. I think you've done a marvelous job." And Mark turned to me and says, these are people coming up to me in a random way and saying things like that. And I've heard the same thing before. And just because of that, I think Mark has expanded his base. And I think it's going to be easier for Mark to win re-election on top of what he has done for the business community. I think he's done an awful lot for the business community, and he'll glean votes from there too. So I think the addition of Hans Riemer and Tom Hucker, who I like both of them and have supported them in the past, will dent more into other bases than it will Mark's. And I think Mark's base has expanded, and I think he's going to easily win re-election.
Well, I want to go to Mark on this because, Elrich, Mr. Hucker, and Mr. Riemer all play in the same Silver Spring Tacoma Park sandbox, as Sam Statland mentioned. But I think there's a suggestion that they will cannibalize the progressive vote, opening the door for David Blair, businessman David Blair, who only lost by 77 votes in the last election, to sneak through and win the election.
Well, that's the $64,000 question: is do they cannibalize the progressive vote, the woke vote, or do they simply cannibalize the vote of somebody other than Mark Elrich? With all due respect to Sam, Mark Elrich is a very polarizing figure in this county. There are lots of people who don't share the choices he made in COVID and frankly have more confidence than what was done elsewhere. And so that's really the question: is which is the vote that ends up cannibalizing by having this enlarged field?
Well, but we got to remember we're playing in the Democratic primary here.
Yes.
And so the people that don't like Mr. Elrich may not be voters. Right. They may be part of the independents or the 2 or 3 Republicans that are able to vote each year in Montgomery County. So.
Listen, Tom plays in a single district. Hans Riemer is at large. So in this type of a race, and it's a Democratic primary race, who has the most strength? Always the incumbent has a huge advantage. The second person to me who has an advantage is a person who gets exposure countywide, and the person with the least advantage, of course, is the person running in a single district. And we also have to remember that there are not, at this point in time, no woman has entered this race. And I'd be shocked if there's not a woman who enters this race within the next 30 days or so. So I think it'll further drain things down. And that's why I really think Mark is going to win. And I want to, with all respect, Mark, when it came to COVID and safety, Montgomery County, over 300,000 people jurisdiction, leads the nation in safety, inoculations, hospital rates, etc. You can't say that Mark is one of the best in the country on these issues. And
Sam, we know your affinities here, and we have to move on. So thank you very much.